Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified informational privacy professional, providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hello, Justin Daniels here. I am a partner at the law firm Baker Donaldson as a corporate M&A and tech transaction lawyer. I am passionate about helping companies solve complex cyber and privacy challenges during the life cycle of their business. I am the cyber quarterback, helping clients design and implement cyber plans, as well as help them manage and recover from data breaches.
And this episode is brought to you by Red Clover Advisors. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, e-commerce, professional services, and digital media. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there's greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more and to check out our best-selling book, Data Reimagined, Building Trust One Bite at a Time, visit redcloveradvisors.com. Well, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I know we ran into each other at coffee this morning and you couldn't shoo me away fast enough.
It is true. You got a social, or your shoes did not get a good fashion grade.
Well, luckily for me, I was meeting with a good friend who wasn't too interested in what I looked like and more in what I had to say.
I suppose so. But the friends who I was meeting for coffee, when I highlighted how wrong your shoe choice was to your outfit that day, commented, "Is that what it's always like? You always have that banter?" And when you just did the flip of my hair, for anyone not watching this but listening, in our intro, he's flipping my hair. Yes, this is actually the banter that we have all the time, even at the coffee shop.
Or on the public speaking dais. So let's
begin.
Yes.
So today, this is really fun. We have Nia Castelly, who is an expert in digital privacy, IP, and product law, who holds a law degree from Columbia Law School. Nia is the co-founder and legal lead for Checks, which is a Google-owned company. She spent nearly 5 years as a legal advisor for the Google Play Developer Console, policy, and operations teams, and is a certified informational privacy professional with her European designation. Thank you. Massive brain freeze at the moment. But Nia, we are so excited to have you here today. So welcome to our show and craziness.
Thank you. Great to be here.
That's your turn.
Is it?
Yes.
See?
That's where you speak.
The person with the bad shoes had to bail you out today.
How did you bail me out today?
Designation?
Oh, see, I already forgot. Can we just carry on today? This is much more. Can we talk about Nia? Nia came here to talk about all the cool things that Nia's doing. So, they're done.
Okay. So Nia, how did you evolve to your current role?
Well, it's been a bit of a long road. I've been practicing for over 20 years, and I've been at Google for just over 9 years. And prior to joining Checks, which I'll talk about in a bit, as you mentioned, I was product counsel for the Play Store. And so there, I counseled a number of the teams, including what you mentioned, the Play Console, which is really the developer side of Play. So this is where developers come to publish their apps and make sure they're readily available on all of your devices. And I also supported our operations and policy teams, which helps ensure that the store stays safe and developers have a great experience producing apps. Well, while working on that for 5 years, one of the things that I had a privilege of working on, and privilege, I'm sure for those in the privacy space is an understatement, is the GDPR efforts. And during that time, we heard from a lot of developers that, wow, this is hard. We're like, yes, it is. Can you help? And back then, there wasn't a lot we could do because we were all trying to figure it out together and about how best to comply to what, I think everyone can agree was a seismic shift in how companies and just the people at large thought about privacy, especially in the mobile app space. But fast forward about 3 years, my co-founder and I, Fergus Hurley, we worked together on Play, and we both had seen him from the product side of, seeing that, developers use the tools if they're available to do great things. And we saw the need to help in this space. And that's where the idea from Checks came in. And so we moved, Google has an in-house incubator where Googlers with ideas can go and build them. And we were fortunate to be accepted to that program. And so over the last 3 years, we built Checks, which is, I guess you're going to ask me that next. It's Google's AI-powered compliance platform for mobile apps. And so what we effectively do is help companies quickly discover, communicate, and fix compliance issues. Because really, we know that all companies, particular mobile app providers, struggle with privacy compliance. It's complicated, right? It certainly can be. And so we're really on a mission to take the complexity out of compliance. And I'll talk more about that later, but that's how I got where I am.
Well, I'm excited to hear more. I have like 400 different questions, but don't worry, I won't ask them all. So let's segue a little bit and talk about cultural differences and how they may impact how a company approaches privacy in different countries.
Yeah, I think, I guess I think of it as two types of cultures, right? There's the culture of the company or even the product at the product level for large companies. And then there's the external culture, like where you're located. Internally, I think culture starts at the top, and it's particularly in the privacy space. The leaders, either the product leaders or the leaders of the company, set the tone for what type of company or product you want to be. And you also need to be globally aware. So going to the external sort of culture differences around privacy. So we know, and we've heard as those in the US have a different approach or thoughts about privacy than perhaps, people in the EU. Or any of the European countries where they are much more sensitive to this. And so really both internally and external contributions to cultural differences make a difference, because even if you're not in those countries, if you're providing a global product, you need to be sensitive to that and make sure, differing views around the globe are incorporated into what you're doing.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing.
So you talked a little bit about how mobile app developers have challenges with privacy compliance. So are you starting to see privacy regulations making developers for innovative startups actually shift left to more of a privacy by design approach?
Absolutely. I think, we're definitely talking about privacy more. As I mentioned, back when GDPR came into effect, that really was a seismic shift in the conversations and thinking about it. And it made many companies, both small and large, wake up to, we need to start thinking about this more carefully and more specifically. And as you mentioned, thinking about how to apply privacy by design. But even in that space, it's still tough. Like I mentioned, it's complex. And, companies, you want to do well. And this, compliance may not be a priority when you're trying to get out there and either have a great new product, a great product launch, or if you're launching a company, you need to make money. And so we really do need to shift the narrative around, privacy being a differentiator. And so I think we're starting to see that because, consumers are starting to think about it more. They talk about it more. We've seen, I'm sure you both have seen in all of the conversations around AI, a big part of it is AI safety, AI governance. We don't want, we don't know what's happening. That's what our consumers are saying, but it sounds scary because it's Terminator. So someone needs to be governing it. And so I think, of course, it makes sense that privacy too comes into this conversation. So I think with the constant dialogue around that, I think that is making companies really, understand that this is something that they should incorporate early, sooner rather than later.
Can you explain a little bit more about some of the challenges you had shared? Developers were saying, this is really hard. I'm curious, what were some of the pieces that they can often would say, this is really hard? And then how does checks help them solve for that?
So I think, well, the first complexity for non-lawyers is, what am I supposed to do? What does that regulation mean, and how does it apply to me? So that's always, the first issue. But specifically in the mobile app space, I think, what I talked about is, it's true for all sort of business related endeavors, but particularly in the mobile space, like you want to get out there and you want to get out there fast. So building quickly, innovating quickly, launching new features quickly is a really big paradigm of that space. And so compliance by definition is just simply going to take a little bit longer, right? So there's that. The second piece is the technical piece of it. Just the way mobile apps are developed. Often they use things called SDKs, which are software developer kits, which is just third-party code. Because when you're building an app, right, any type of software, if you have to code each line, you're not going to go quickly. And there's a lot of repetitive functions, whether it be login screens or tracking analytics or accepting money. That sort of code is used in lots of apps. And so there's sort of off the shelf code or software that they can incorporate into their apps. But the outside of that is that this is third-party code. And if you don't take the time to make sure you vetted it, you understand how it's actually working, it can have unintended consequences in your app. And so including data collection, data sharing. And so when we think about privacy requirements, data privacy is sort of the biggest one, right, about what you're doing. So it's like, and so what Checks does is we have what we call a triangle. And so we look at what you're required to do. And so this can be what you're required to do based on global regulations or even platform policies, which are another sort of big point of what mobile app developers have to comply with. What you say you're doing. So this is in their disclosures, and usually that's incorporated into your privacy policy, what you're telling your users you're going to do with their data and what you're actually doing, which is the hard part. Because as I said, you have different code, it's being updated, maybe you're using third-party code, do you really know what's happening? And so when any of these three things are out of sync, this is the information. These are the insights that we provide. We let you know, this is what you say you're doing. You say you're not collecting location data. But, in testing your app, we see location data being sent off to your device to a third party endpoint. And we let you know that. And a lot of those can often be unintended consequences. You didn't realize that that's what the code was actually doing. And they can go and make adjustments. And so it protects privacy in that way.
Where in the life cycle do you find people using the product?
So at many different places. Ideally, it should be prior to launch. We are, like I said, we just came out of the incubator. We're still in beta. And so where we've started is helping companies look at what their publicly available apps. So these are apps that are already launched. So there's a high, priority of ensuring those are correct. But what we subsequently rolled out in terms of feature is pre-publish. So before you actually get out there, making sure your app is doing what you intended it to do. And so that's really where we think and where we're seeing most of our customers want to ensure it happens. But, after they've built the app or during the testing phase, they can run the checks to make sure it's operating as intended.
Very cool. I can think of lots of companies who need to be doing this very thing.
So you talked a little bit about the app having artificial intelligence capabilities. I'm just curious, as you were creating your product, how were you trying to think about AI governance and using AI within a tool and making sure that in and of itself that it's acting consistent with the mission of what your company is, which is in turn to help other companies with compliance?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, we leverage AI in our product in two ways. One, we leverage it to parse privacy policies at scale, right? These are the things that no one wants to read as a user. Probably don't read your privacy policies for the apps or the products you use, or maybe you do, but many people don't. And so we use artificial intelligence, large language models to parse these and make sure and identify where certain disclosures are happening, what is being said, and using that to do that at scale. And so that helps. What your previous question was, how do we help make this less complex? So that's providing that information real time and quickly as it changes, et cetera, to customers. The other way we use AI is testing the app. So I mentioned that one of the nodes that we look at is what your app is actually doing. And so we're using that to navigate the app in an automated fashion, to test it, to see what's actually happening when a user might be using their app. In terms of where we're going in terms of AI compliance or AI governance, we believe, what we've started with in terms of our framework, as I mentioned, the 3 prongs, makes a lot of sense for AI governance. You can have, similarly to an app, you can have an AI model. Let's say you didn't develop it yourself. There's lots of models that are available out there, but you can use it to incorporate into some technology that you're creating, but it's created by a third party. So do you really know how that model was built, ensuring that it complies with what you as a company want in terms of your own, AI governance priorities? And so having that sort of testing to ensure that what you're getting, how you're implementing it, that AI technology in your product, and what the output looks like, what you're actually conveying to your users, is going the way you expect it to. So that's where we hope the next part of our product will be going.
Overall, how do you think privacy regulations are being impacted by concerns around AI?
So I think, from a privacy standpoint, a lot of our existing regulations are really already relevant and helpful in terms of how they apply to AI technology. I mean, you have to be like, if you're putting data into the models that you're building, right? Where did you get it from? Do you have the proper consents, et cetera? Are you disclosing the purposes? All of those things, are very relevant and can be applied by regulators today. But as new regulations come out, like whether it be in the US, as many of the states, come on board with their own versions of privacy regulations, or amendments happen to our larger ones, like in California or Virginia, et cetera. I think there will be more specific references to AI tech because, and specifically how the technology uses personal data, for example, an effort to avoid ambiguity and address, unique use cases of AI. But as I mentioned, I think there are a lot of existing laws and a lot of the ways that companies do business already and develop products already will go into hopefully ensuring they're developing AI, fueled products in the right way.
That makes a lot of sense. More fun. And we have Delaware, by the way, in the midst of our recording that signed yesterday. So we are officially at 12 states in the United States who have a privacy law.
Delaware, when does that go into effect?
Well, I'm going to claim that I'm hungry and my brain can't remember that because there are now 12 states and I can't keep up with which one is which.
And please don't ask me because I have a cheat sheet, but
I have a cheat sheet. There's a lot now. I was really good on my base 5, but we got 7 new ones. We're all digesting all 7. So if you come back to me, we will have that answer very shortly.
All right, you'll be held accountable in the next show.
Somewhere between 2024 and
2025.
Yeah. There's only one that's 2026, and that's far away.
So, Nia, from your experience as a seasoned privacy practitioner and just consumer, do you have a best privacy tip you would like to share with our audience?
Well, I actually have 2. So one for users and one for companies. One of the things I say to my friends, to my family, I was like, you care the most about your privacy. So, companies will tell you what they're doing, hopefully. The ones who are good actors will give you all of this information about what they're going to do with your data, or they'll give you controls so you can opt out, or you can make informed choices. But it's up to you to do that and be informed users of products. So that's my tip that I always give to my friends. I think it's probably annoying because this is what I do, but I still think it's important, that they read information and make informed decisions, because that will, if you're choosing not to use this company's app or product because of what you've read, that could make a difference if lots of people do that, and to how they operate. And on the flip side, my privacy tip for companies is start how you want to finish, right? Whether it be at the company level or the new product level. What feels like a delay now in shipping something quickly, a delay in trying to implement privacy by design will be infinitely more costly if you have to implement it down the road once your product or company are highly successful. So that's what I tell them. Start how you want to finish.
And when you are not advising and thinking and reading all things privacy, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I have 3 kids, so any fun time is completely devoted to them. So anything fun they want to do at the moment, which is often Disneyland, which is not my favorite place, but once I get there, it's usually a happy place. But yes, that's what I usually do for fun.
I am a big Disney fan over here, but not Disneyland, Disney World. So I could use a little extra Disney fun myself.
And she's a fan of Disney's privacy policy on their cruise ships.
It's true. They do have, yes, of course, went and read it. It was, as you should. See, I took your advice. That's what I did.
And of course, like you said, Nia, she's annoying.
Okay. Now, Nia, if people would like to learn more, and especially to check out checks, where should they go to learn more?
Well, it's very simple. Checks.google.com. So checks.google.com.
Wonderful. And we thank you so much for sharing all this information with us today. Everyone building mobile app, make sure you check it out.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.